Let's try a quick trivia game to test your knowledge of the 2016 California Energy Efficiency Code for lighting controls. We've got 5 quick questions that you should be able to find all the answers to in the documents you can download from the CEC website. So our first question involves Table 130.1-A, which is at the end of Section 130.1. which is lighting controls. We have a table that stipulates, based on technology and wattage consumed by a luminaire, what the minimum control level is. In other words, what is the minimum amount of control you would need on this particular type of luminaire, in this case, a fluorescent luminaire tube, 13 watts or less. How do I have to control it? Does it have to be continuous dimming? Does it have to be one step between 30 and 70? What does it have to be? Well, take a look at the answers. Pause if you need to. Look it up if you feel like it. And the answer is one step between 30 and 70% of full rated power. So, in other words, the ability to shut the thing down by half or so. Now, we also on the same table have a column that has uniformity requirements, which disallows in a lot of cases shutting off a portion of lighting in an area and leaving the other luminaires on. In other words, checkerboarding is not always allowed anymore. For new construction, typically not. So which of these 4 answers would be the suggested method of keeping uniformity in a lighting system? It's switching alternate lamps in luminaires or continuous dimming of the luminaires. Now here we have a question about daylit zones. We have a side-lit daylit zone that is furthest from the vertical window glazing. We can find this still in Section 130.1D if you're looking at the 2019 version of the code that goes into effect January 1st, 2020. If you're looking in there, you'll find this under Section 100.1 definitions. But for now, it's still in Section 130.1D, and it tells us that the side-lit zone furthest away from a window is the secondary side-lit zone, which is actually a continuous zone 2 window head heights deep into an area, and the primary side-lit zone lays on top of it and trumps that portion of the secondary side-lit zone, so that in effect you have a secondary side-lit zone that is between 1 and 2 window head heights deep into the room. And speaking of these orders of precedence, if a skylit zone overlays a secondary side-lit zone, then that area should be treated for control like which of these? This one you'll find also in Section 130.1 D2 Charlie, and the answer is Skylit trumps side-lit, and secondary side-lit is trumped by primary side-lit. So we have these orders of precedence. Also found in this section is the description of the size of a skylit zone. Will a round skylight produce a square skylit zone? Looking in this section, the answer is no. Round skylights produce round skylit zones, rectangular, rectangular, square, square, etc. So that's it for our trivia questions. And let's look at a few things that might pop up in some future trivia questions. 3 people sign an acceptance testing form for lighting controls. One of them is the documentation author. That's the person who physically prepared the form. They sign each type of form: compliance, install, and acceptance. It's hard to look things up in section 100.1. Remember that 100.1 definitions has categories that are in there alphabetically. And so, for instance, a lighting control would be found in the lighting controls section and not necessarily alphabetically listed throughout the definitions. Remember that in some cases, you must install an occupant sensing device to satisfy shutoff controls code. If you're not stipulated under 130.1 Charlie 5, 6, and 7 that you must use an occupant sensing device, then it would be your choice of an occupant sensing device or a scheduler or a timer. Also remember that appearing on the plans should be one or more of these two compliance forms which list the lighting controls that should be present on the project. And remember that an acceptance test technician uses specifications from the reference appendices to ensure that they are making the correct tests.